Hi everyone, Jen here. I am going to be taking you through how to deal with your data if you have seedling height data and leaf color data. I'm going to show you how to make sure that you manipulate your data correctly in your Google spreadsheet and how to make the graphs that you need. Okay, so you presumably should have your data in some kind of format like I have here, where you have for each of your experiment days or the days that you collected data, you have a chart that shows each individual plant in your control group, your experimental groups, and then you have the height and the leaf color. You might have recorded your data slightly differently in a different chart format, although I think most people use this. If you have a different chart format, the manipulation of the data might be slightly different in how you do it, but the idea behind it will be the same. One note here is that I have just put in experimental group 1 and 2 as kind of a placeholder. You would actually have your actual experimental group, like what you call it, a more descriptive title. So please don't just leave in control experimental group 1 and experimental group 2. It's not very informative when you look at the graph. And I've just used completely made up data here, and you will have actual data. But I made it so for this example, we have collected data on days 1, 4, 7, 10, and 13. You might have more. Okay, this is kind of a lot of data and kind of annoying to deal with, but it's not too bad. What you want to be having to actually make your graphs is you're going to collect, or you're going to calculate the average height and the average leaf color for each day for each group. Okay, and so I created these charts here. You will need to put those into your spreadsheet as well. Okay, in order to do this though, we're just going to do some calculations over here. So I'm going to write in here average. Okay, and that's just reminding me that in this row, I'm going to be having the averages for each of these. Okay, one thing you might do if all these numbers are kind of starting to look the same to you is you could put each day, or sorry, each group as a different color. And I considered doing this because my eyes were sort of starting to cross as I was going through looking at different numbers. So you could do something like this where for each group you have a different color so you can differentiate the data a little better. And I would propagate that throughout if I was going to do that. Okay. So you're going to calculate the average for the height for the control group for experiment day 1. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to type in equals, and then you can just type in average, the word average, open parentheses, and then highlight all of these rows, and then end parentheses and hit equals. Google is really good at predicting what you might be doing. And so when I hit equal, it is suggesting that I would like to average rows, or column B, rows 4 through 15. And indeed I do. So if you want to do that, you can just click on the suggestion and hit enter, and it'll do that for you. Okay, you can do the same thing as you go along. So it's probably going to suggest that's what I want to do, which is the average, which is correct. And so I'll just go along doing that. You can also drag the formula, so it'll copy it over here. And you can even drag it, I could drag it all the way across, and it's going to be a little bit weird because it won't know what these mean, but then you can just delete those. Okay. So you're going to do that for all of these, all days, right? And so that this data here that I'm going to put in bold is actually what we're going to be moving into these two charts. Okay, so I'll just do one more as an example. So I'm going to say average. Oh, not the formula. And then equals average. It's going to suggest that for me. Oh, and these cells, maybe I want to get rid of those ones. In these cells, for whatever reason, Google is keeping a lot of decimal points that we don't want. So you can get rid of those up here. We just would like to work with whole numbers, okay? And we're going to put those in bold. Okay. What you're then going to do is you need to move that data over to our chart over here, okay, have these numbers. But one easy way to do that is to just say equals. So we want to record here the average height for the control. So we can say equals and just hit that cell and it'll move that number there. Do not do their suggestion. And then the same for the experimental group 1 and experimental group 4. Okay, it is kind of annoying. I know I should probably figure out how to do it more easily. And then we're going to also do that for the leaf color. So, or you could just type them in if you see them, right? So you could do this however you want. Those are easy, 5, 4, 2. So I can just go, okay, if it'll let me. I can just type in 5, 4, and 2, right? And then I would do the same for down here. So equals, then I'm going to scroll down 32, and then equals 48, and then equals 60. And I'm just going to look to see what the numbers are. For some reason, I can remember single digits easier. So 5, 3, 1 for my. Okay, so you're going to do that for all of those. I'm going to pause the recording here, fill out that information, and come back when all of this is complete and show you how to do the graphs. One thing I want to point out is you can use the copy and paste function actually to copy all of this information here. If you hit highlight, hit Control Copy, and then you highlight cells you want it to go in, say Control V. It's not going to copy the values, it's going to copy the formulas. And so that is a nice shortcut to do all the way down. Insert above here. So that you don't have to keep writing all of that information. Okay, I have now got all of my calculated data into these charts here, and I'm ready to make my graphs. It's really easy to make the graphs. And again, just a reminder, you would put in what your actual groups are. Okay, I don't want to see graphs that say group 1 and group 2. It's not very informative. To make a graph, you're going to highlight all of the cells with the data, and then you're going to go to Insert, Chart, and sometimes it will come up with the kind of chart that you want to make, or sometimes it won't. In this case, it makes sense because we're showing height data. It makes sense to use a line chart because it's continuous data, meaning that between day 1 and day 4, we can assume that the plants kept growing. Okay. You could also use a column chart, but it's not. That's more for discrete data, right? So there are, plant growth between these days, and you can assume that here and kind of connect the dots, but it is better to just use the line graph, okay? And again, my data is made up, so it looks very linear and kind of perfect. Yours won't necessarily look this way. Okay, we do need to customize some things. So across the bottom here, we have the day, so that's correct, and but it's not height averages is not the correct title here. We need to change our title to something descriptive, and we need a chart axes title on this side. So to do that, you're going to go to Customize and go to Chart and Axis Titles. We're going to change the title to something that makes sense and is descriptive. So now we're going to say something like the effect of, and you would put in your independent variable. I'm just going to write independent variable. And I'm going to leave it in quotes as a reminder that for you, you need to put in what your actual independent variable was. So if it was, amount of light, you would say the effect of the amount of light on seedling growth, or maybe growth of mung bean seedlings. Okay, so nice descriptive title. We're also going to be making this graph smaller just to not take up as much space. So you want to change the font size to something smaller so we don't lose part of the title. Okay. And then we need to go up and we need to change the horizontal axis. So it's not showing that's not height averages. That's actually on the other axes. This is just experiment day. Okay. And then the vertical axis should be average seedling height, or average height if you want just that. Okay. The other thing to change is the position of your legend. Okay, I don't like it at the top. It makes it a little busy. It's better at the right where you could see it a little better. Okay. You can also mess around with if you want to. If you don't want to have these vertical axes lines, I think you can get rid of them. I think they are either way, whatever you want to do, and then your graph is done. Okay, and we're just going to push it over here to the side while we work on this graph. Okay, so for this one is leaf color averages. So again, we're going to select the data, we're going to insert chart, and then now this is suggesting a line graph, which is not appropriate for leaf color. For this one, we do want to have a column chart or a bar graph. Okay. And this is doing, so this is showing the experiment day. This is the leaf color average. So we have the same kind of issues. We need to go to customize, axis chart and titles. Let's do the chart title first. So the effect of, again, I'm going to put independent variable. You are going to put your actual independent variable on mung, bean, seedling, leaf color. Okay. And again, I'm going to make this smaller. So I'm going to make the title smaller, and we need to change the vertical axis. So we have one. So this is leaf color. Okay. And as a reminder, this data is actually non-helpful unless you have that leaf color chart to compare it to, right? So we're gonna have to make sure that when you put this chart into your document, you have the leaf color chart next to it. Otherwise, someone looking at it be like, okay, leaf color 6, I don't know what that means. And then down here, we want to change it to experimental day. There we go, or experiment day. All right, and then finally, we can change where the legend is and put it on the right. Okay, that's it then. Those are the two graphs that you need to make. I don't think there's any other graphs to make. You can then go to, let's see, I need to open a Google Doc. Okay, then once you have your graphs, you can go to your Google document. So I just opened a blank one, and you can copy these directly into your Google document. Just highlight or grab it and then go Control C on your keyboard. And then you can either do right click, paste, or you can do Control V. It will give you this link to spreadsheet or not. What this means is if I choose link to spreadsheet and I go back and I change something in my spreadsheet in the that changes the graph, it will update the document. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that one. And then it puts it right into your document. You can make it smaller if you want to. And these are the graphs that you will be putting into your data analysis assignment, as well as your final report. I hope this helps you understand how to deal with your data and making graphs in Google Docs and Google Spreadsheet. If you have more questions, you can always come to office hours. You can always ask me over email, or if neither of those are useful and you want to meet individually, I'm happy to do that as well.